Beautiful place. A bit, you'll feel better. Nice seating area. Oh, pretty. Very unique. More seating area. It's beautiful. He's added a lot since I've been here.
Oh yeah, they opened that room back up, but because
yeah.
last one
Okay, and this is your tasting area?
It's one of them.
Okay.
This is like the front area when it slows down. That's when we do the tastings. And then we've got this area back here, which is closed off for tomorrow.
It will be closed tomorrow?
Well, we closed it off about an hour ago.
Oh, okay.
That way it would look good for tomorrow.
Yeah. Okay.
Sorry, I'm sitting here trying not to die from what I drink. I was like trying to hold it together and I'm like, nope.
Well, we'll have the lights on in here tomorrow. And
the Hinnant
we'll
side will be all lit up.
Okay. I'm going to look through the back and look over the field while there's no one here. We can get a good view.
Well, they're all getting ready for tomorrow. And since I don't have to work it, I get to spend me time.
Oh, wow. Oh, how pretty. The mural on the wall. Oh. Oh, I see. Let me get in and I can't get out. Out here to just sit and enjoy the beauty of the green vines. Nice little swings. Acres and acres of grapes, Muscadine grapes. North Carolina Muscadine grapes. Plan your outing. I'm sure you will be pleased. Going back through. Now we're walking back through to the front. Have a retail shop. Your t-shirts, napkins. So
Hi, welcome in.
Hello.
What can we do for you?
I lost a wife. I don't know if you think she came in. We had to
pretty little gifts. Unique.
Oh, that's you guys. Okay.
I'm 80. I'll soon be 83 years old. I've been making it for 17 years.
Like that.
It works. It works. I'll sometimes I don't make mine. I saw you in the grapes. Also, truck later grapes. Anyway.
Thank you for listening to me go for the So many people call me like, when does grape picking start? It's like first week of September. Hey, have y'all started your grape picking? Nope, not yet. First week of
And
September.
he's got a beautiful.
Yeah, the little handbags. Or wine carriers.
Which is weird because we
The wine carriers, not handbags. Pretty.
But
Beautiful.
We need a good year.
I mean, the last few years being COVID, it's nice to have a good year for crops at least.
Hinnant Winery and Vineyard for a Muscadine, North Carolina Muscadine meeting today.
A little bit more at the top. Good idea.
I'll get in the car and cut the air conditioning.
Everybody up here?
I need to
So
get,
another thing we do different than everybody else, we don't do this everywhere, but if you'll notice the spacing on the vines, instead of every 20 feet, we've got them every 10 in places. And that's because on Geneva double curtain, you know, you've got the same amount of cordon because you've got two sides as you have on a single wire. And you'll see places out here where you'll see some of these Geneva double curtain on a 20-foot spacing, and the vines don't look as healthy. Plus, we find that we can leave more buds. We'll leave longer spurs with more buds and spacing in between, and we get more fruit. And the vines are, you can tell they're healthy. Once you space them out 20 feet, then they're not getting everything that they really need. And you'll see some vines that you go, man, something's missing.
Are all your
Especially on the fresh
10-foot
they're
spacing?
beautiful.
They're gorgeous.
No, because we just started doing this about 15 years ago.
Okay.
Because I propagate a lot of these plants, plant cost isn't an issue. Like with Supreme, we've always had, after they get up in age, you get a dead, what we call dead arm, where one whole arm will die. So we started planting them every 10 feet. That way we could get them back in commission. We could just take a runner and tape it up, and in another year, boom, we're right back in there. And so we've kind of stuck with it. You won't see any of our wine grapes grown this way, just the fresh fruit.
Is this a fresh market?
You know, that's one I propagated. I don't even have a name for it, and my guys stuck it up here. It's a cross between Supreme and Late Fry.
Oh.
And it's really late, but everybody picks it and it's gone, so I don't ever get to try it.
Oh.
That's right.
Is this your pick your own area?
Yeah.
What propagation method are you
So what I was telling them is we've hedged these. Before you hedge them, if you'll get a 1 gallon pot, just a pot, cut a hole in the bottom of it, grab some of these like this and stick them through the hole in the pot, and then take these leaves and strip them off, fill that thing up with potting mix, and take a piece of wire, tie it up here to support it. The trick to it is using a medium that holds moisture. If you don't, you're gonna have to come out here twice, 3 times a week. Just keep them wet. And in the fall, after they've rooted, we'll just come in and cut here, take them all up, and then take them out, separate them, and repot them. That's the best way to do it. We've tried the mist beds, that works, but man, I'd say on some varieties we would get 25-30% success, some 50. But this really works. And when we're out here today, you'll see some pots hanging, and that's where we're propagating.
What do you do with the pots in the winters?
With what?
Like, what do you do with them after you repot them?
Well, we put them in the greenhouse till about 1st of December, and then we just take them out and let them go dormant. You know, we don't put them inside or anything like that. I'm sure there might be better ways of doing it, but that's the best we found. And my guys that work with me are the ones that figured it out. Because, you know, a lot of guys, like these nurseries, they'll plant these vines and they'll plant them lower, and all these laterals will be on the ground, and they just shovel dirt over on them and then come back and cut them. It's easier to do it like what I was talking about. Yeah.
What I do not recommend is to take hardwood, so in the winter, and get like hardwood cuttings and stick them into ground. That or in a pot, that is a very, very low chance that it will work.
I've tried that too.
Yeah, no, it doesn't work very well.
They'll leaf out and everything,
Right.
but then they just die.
Yeah.
Now I've heard Quincy Adams used to have Adams Vineyards up at Fuquay. He's taken cuttings in the fall, and when I say fall, like October, and he's had success with that, but I've never tried that. I mean, I don't even know what a grape plant costs now. What, about $5?
I don't know, I ripped my own.
About the ones I got from Iceland last year, he charged me, I think, $8.50 a bag.
Wow.
Even
Yeah,
with
you
like,
save yourself a lot of money if you.
even with like the discount of like the.
Yeah, I ordered 275.
Okay.
Ooh.
Last year they were $5.50, and then, I mean, he got over 300,000 cuttings this year.
Right.
So I guess his business is booming, and
Will
everything
you
else
go
is
over
going
that
up.
pot one more time? I didn't get that.
Let me find. So, see, these have been hedged, but you want to actively growing shoot like this, and grab 5 or 6 of them, and cut a hole in a 1-gallon pot. Run this through, and where the pot's going to be hanging, you're going to strip off the leaves. That's where your dirt's going to be, and you can get 6, 7, 8. 10 of these in one gallon container, and then after you get them in there, you might want to take some tape up that hole at the bottom where these things go through, so the dirt doesn't just. And then you get a wire and hang it for support somewhere up in here. And then the next thing is moisture. You got to keep it moist, and they will root on their own. I mean, you could even go as far as to, you know, put some root hormone there. I guess we've never done it.
No, that works pretty well without root rods, as long as everything is moist. I mean, that's the key, you know.
Moisture's the key.
Yeah.
If it's dry, it's not going to root.
Yeah. Maybe do you have one like hanging around here somewhere? Do you know that?
There's some back here in the back. I don't know if they've got any up here. But we're going to ride back there.
yeah.
Cut 15 holes on the top.
Touring the Hinnant Vineyard. Just go ahead.
Yeah, we're constantly replanting. We found that since the public has gotten used to the Supreme grapes and the Palk, that they no longer really want the Nesbitt. I think Nesbitt's got great flavor, but it's small. So we're in the process of replacing our Nesbitts with Palk.
His Paul's a big black one.
Yeah, that's late. See, Nesbitt's a late variety, and Palk is a late. Palk's actually about a week later than Supreme.
Don't you find the Nesbitt is most highly susceptible to disease?
No,
About any.
all those are Nesbitt's right here on this road. They
They don't. Mine diseased up. What do I have?
they They've got the best flavor of all three of them, to me.
The nobles are good.
Size.
They're just small.
Size is small.
Skins are tougher.
Huh?
Skins are a little tougher.
Yeah.
Whenever you got something serious to say, well, don't jump out, or else you can just run over to the other van and tell them.
How many employees do you have?
I've got 8 full-time field employees and let's see, 5 full-time winery employees and 3 or 4 part-time. These are all nobles on the right. And you see these, you see how tightly planted they are?
Uh-huh.
We'll dig those up and transplant them next winter.
How long do they stay there?
They've been there too long. They've been there about 2 years.
Ideally, what would you do? How long would you leave them?
1 year.
So it's like a nursery grow, right?
1 to 2, yeah. That's exactly what it is. All right, here's these seedless grapes. We're gonna get out right here and show you guys. Now, that's razzmatazz.
Oh, wow.
Here's some of Jeff's Bloodworth seedless varieties. This is razzmatazz. And this one here is oh my. But y'all feel free to try some of those if you want to.
They got to be real wide. Look, oh my.
Look how pretty. They're so petite.
I know, I can hear our customers
wow.
right now. It's too small.
I know.
I'll get you trying them.
I mean,
Turn around,
Ooh.
turn around. Get big up and try them.
As you can tell,
They're very tart.
I can hear our customers right now.
No, you want to get
but they're
a
not
purple
growing
one.
good here.
Not
Purple.
Yeah, they have to be purple. You get a purple one, it'll blow your mind.
Oh, okay. Look for the dark purple.
Well, look at the vines.
Look how pretty. That's my hand.
Yeah, I would say mine.
And there's a cluster.
Maybe get a little wider.
He said to look for the dark purple. I don't see any dark purple.
Right. And soft.
Yeah.
But
About the size of a fingernail.
Yeah, still.
But they're beautiful.
we could try one, I guess.
Does it need to cross pollinate? I don't know. This field is well drained because it rained yesterday when we came by.
This is your own line.
That's what I figured.
Like grandma's banana pudding recipe. Shoot.
Somebody tells me I need to do a map. And write it all in.
They're self-pollinated.
Yes, they're self-fertile. And you can't really see it here, but they call them ever flowering. See, if you look at this shoot, you've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 clusters on it. And if this was long, like it should be, there'd be clusters of fruit all the way out, wouldn't there?
Yeah, it fruits like it's a tomato plant.
Yeah.
So this is razzmatazz.
This variety is, yes, razzmatazz, seedless.
then it goes all the way to like the flower. So you could crop this the entire time.
Wow, okay.
And then it will die next year because it doesn't belong.
Wow, well, holy crap, the whole time.
Yeah. So, but you need to get those. The really dark ones. Yeah, the dark ones. Those are the right ones. The other ones don't taste really well.
Are these for wine also? Or
So-
just
Originally, and for 1 second, you can go through the different ripeness stages so that you just kind of see what the taste difference, you know. Because they get a lot of tardiness to it if they're not ripe, you know. But if they're ripe, they're actually really good. But you
Is that
really
like ellagic acid that?
yeah, you have to find like the really good dark ones, you know.
are they for wine? Or how?
So
how
they
are they
originally
consumed?
were planted as a ornamental cultivar, so to grow in your backyard. And I don't think anyone ever has made wine out of it unless Bob did. And
It takes so many, probably.
it takes a lot, you
yeah.
know. So some people wanted to grow it for fresh market. They taste pretty well, but it takes a lot of time to harvest those clusters.
Yeah, this is Mark Hoffman from the North
Hi.
Carolina State University.
Yeah, which almost drove your
yeah,
car.
I got him on YouTube.
It's a lot better than.
They've got this stage has got 25% of the nest.
But I skirt mine with about a 5 foot.
That guy can tell you more than me, but there's muscadine. It's a predominant fruit, but they're crossing it with something.
Everything.
What's the parent?
Some vineyards are using them to do their pruning.
It's 75% muscadine, 25% vinifera. Thompson seedless.
Okay, Tom.
Yeah. Is what he's bred. The new varietals are like 95% muscadine. I think all mine was about 85%.
See, I don't really know that they have good yield data. You know, they can tell you Carlos is going to give you 12, 13,000 pounds an acre, but do they know what this will yield?
No, not yet. We need to expand it
So
out.
that's the problem. I mean, you get a good price for it, but if you don't get enough pounds per acre,
Exactly.
it doesn't.
Well, he's looking for the new varietals. He's looking at about 35 pounds of fruit per vine.
So that'd be about half.
yeah,
About half, because
Yeah.
Carlos is about 60, 70
But that's
on a single wire.
How much have you got planted here, Bob? How much of the razzmatazz is in?
Well, there's 4 rows. It starts right here.
Yeah.
1, 2, 3, 4. And I don't even think there's a full row of raz. Everything else is mine. And
Okay.
it's just what they had at the time.
Gotcha.
And
So did you've been selling this as pick your own, or have you marketed it wholesale?
I have not really marketed it. The problem is I get so busy with everything else that these 4 rows get kind of forgotten about.
Yeah.
I try to keep all the U-pick people up there, but you'd have to put a chain link fence around that field to keep them in the,
Yeah.
you know, they just, the big thing is I think they're from the city and they get out here on a farm, they can't believe there's not asphalt and they just walk.
Yeah.
I find them everywhere. But they found these and they picked the heck out of them.
You don't get them coming down the next morning for breakfast, do you?
No.
They pick them individually or by the cluster?
probably about.
Well, they end up tearing them up because it's hard to cluster pick by hand.
Right, yeah.
Unless they happen to have a pair of scissors or snips in their pocket. You know, but I have them coming back. I got those 4 trees over there are some kind of Chinese dates, and persimmons they come back with buckets mixed with grapes and all this stuff. And they think everything's for sale. You know.
Yeah.
Roots.
Well, you cut this off, you put it going back the right direction, don't you, when you transplant?
Yeah.
I've seen put it going.
See, I came through here hedging the other day and cut those things at the bottom by accident. I mean, they were long.
It doesn't
They had
matter
like this
though,
much
right?
hanging out of them. But that's, y'all get the gist. That's how it was. And I mean,
And your
there's
way
a
of
bunch
rooting.
vines in there.
But you have to water them sometimes.
Well, if you're getting good rain, you don't have to worry about it. And the part of the trick is to keep them in the shade.
This is members of the North Carolina Muscadine. Association. This is a beautiful vineyard. He said he will take those up and replant those. It's sort of like the nursery run, I suppose.
Yeah, but I'm pretty sure we find something. I mean, they ship it from Chile here. So I'm pretty sure we'll find
Oh, he's going to have a bountiful supply this year, a bountiful harvest. If Mother Nature cooperates.
Have you based it on
No,
the
it's Geneva double curtain.
This is Geneva.
Developed in Geneva, New York back in the, I guess, the 60s. We find it works really good with mustard.
No, sorry, I know it's Geneva. I haven't seen this style before.
Yeah, there's only one guy that makes these. He's in Erie, Pennsylvania. And I'm trying to think of his name. But they're about $10 a pair. So if you figure 200 plants per acre, that costs you $2 grand on this in the extra wire. That's why a lot of people don't do it out there. That and all the new harvesters are pretty much made for single row trellis.
Right.
I've got two old Chisholm riders sitting over there. They're both 1976.
Pruners that you, well,
Can't pick them with a machine.
no, can't pick them. Be hard to prune inside too, also.
About them, you're in the sun, but they work. They work great for muscadine. And actually, there were another one where we're going to buy it in parts.
So why did you decide to go GDC on your trad?
He's farming now.
On your traditional? Why did you decide? Why did you say it's the
Yield.
for yield?
You know, these rows on a single wire trellis, I was picking 3/4 of a ton per row. On this right here, I'm picking 1.5 tons per row. It's at least 40% more. I think it could be higher. You know.
Can you talk, just because we had that question, can you talk a little bit about the differences in pruning those, training those, between a single wire and a double Geneva prune?
Okay, let me get right here. So, you guys probably do it the same way I do it. But, you know, realistically, on a Geneva double curtain, it takes, I'd say, 6 to 7 years to fully establish and mature a vine. So in the first year, in my opinion, if you can get this vine up here, cut it, split it, and get it to here, you're doing okay.
Very well, yeah.
Yeah. And then it's going to take, I would say, 2 years after that to fill up all the cordon. And you want it, you don't want to let any vegetative lateral growth happen in the first few years. You want to drive it down the wire. So we're constantly coming out here and cutting those suckers off and driving the growth into the wire. But see right here, what I would do is come right here and cut that. And then take this sucker and that shoot and train them on out here. You know, you can get a single wire trellis in production a lot faster.
Right.
Those vines that you see on the other side of these little vines, there's like 7 rows of Carlos. I took them out 4 years ago. I just want to see what they do on this soil. I don't know if it's the soil or the trellis, but Geneva double curtain does better on this property.
What's your pH here, Bob?
I don't even know right off the top of the head. I just take soil samples, and if they require lime, I add lime. You know, Jeff seems to think the reason that rise is not doing well is my soil's not acidic enough. So we came in and put lime on it,
Okay.
trying to, you know, bring it up, but it didn't help.
When did you put it in?
March.
March of this year.
Yeah.
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 He said he had the same issue with the vineyard.
Yeah.
Same with ours as well. He added lime, I think, in the fall period, a ton an acre, and he's not seeing much difference either. But it takes time for lime to sink in
Yeah,
take
and I
effect.
used, because
Okay.
it was such a small amount, I used pelletized lime. I don't
Right.
know if that was right or wrong, but you know, I put 1,000 pounds on those 4 rows, and I can't tell any difference.
No.
But
So on a Geneva double curtain, if you do your split, where would you make here? This would be your split, those two?
Right. You can see where it was cut.
Right.
Right here. And, you know, it wouldn't hurt to come down a little lower. Because what happens is when this thing gets hard, you get the weight of the fruit, it can split it right there.
So what would you say, Mark? 15 inches? 18 inches?
Yeah, I think lower and having like a different angle is a good idea.
And you'll see that someplace. It's hard, you know, especially now. Look, the tobacco farmers around here are paying $12 an hour cash daily. I mean, people are quitting. You know, you get people to come in, don't know what they're doing, you try to train them, everybody does stuff different. You know, you kind of have to stay on them or with them. And, you know, I would really like to see them plant these grapes closer to the post. That way you got the support of that arm and you don't get as much of that.
Like this one over there.
Well, they've done that here pretty close.
Yeah. Even closer. Because when you pick these things mechanically, the leaves on your harvester are going to open here and then here. And then if any grapes get spilled on the ground, they're going to be right there. If this were closer, you wouldn't lose as much.
So you basically do 2 splits. So you do the first split can be here, and the second split can be here. But you do that second split in the second year, not in the first year.
You do it in the first year, like,
You're about ready to go ahead and do this.
yeah, I mean, they could have already done it. They got more.
So when your cuttings come in, and what height are they?
Oh. I mean, we propagate around, and like I said, they'll put them in the greenhouse until December. As soon as the end of February, March gets here, they'll put them back in the greenhouse. They'll grow them for another 2-3 months before they ever put them out here, so their roots are well established. You know.
So they're ready to go.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
so you put.
Yeah, that's we've got a manure spreader, so when we dump the hummus, we spread it back in the field. A lot of seeds too.
Another question we had was the row spacing between on the double Geneva curtain, between the posts, because it has to be more than a single plant.
Oh, you mean the width?
Yeah.
It's 12 feet.
12 feet.
From post to post or wide to wide?
Post to post. You're losing, these are 48 inches. So you're losing 2 feet here and 2 feet there. So you're at 8 feet from right here
8 feet.
to right there. Yeah. You know, the really good thing I like about the Geneva double curtain is the canopy gets so thick, it kind of is like weed and grass control. On a single wire trellis, we're always mowing and spraying. But when you get into the double wires, if everything's spaced even, you know, you don't see a whole lot growing under there. That's nice.
Don't show how pretty much herbicide you're gonna put out here or nothing.
Yeah, Chateau. 8 ounces per acre twice a year. That's they say a pound, pound per year.
8 ounces an acre, twice a year at Chateau.
Yeah.
There's nothing else there.
There's nothing that's good. I mean, we've used simazine and some other stuff, but it doesn't. You know, this is not that bad. But, I mean, but if you don't get rain, you typically don't have the pre-emergence hold. You get a lot of rain, they just wash through, wash away, and every time you get a rain, you get another crop of something growing.
Yeah.
You know.
So how do you fare with the Japanese beetle on the raz?
They were almost non-existent this year because of the drought.
Right.
And it's time for me, you know, we got rain yesterday for the first time in several weeks. It's time for those big June beetles to start popping out, and I hadn't seen them.
Sting bugs.
We've got
Okay,
those.
June beetles. And they'll destroy
I was
right
putting
through. They
traps
won't
out
touch
the
me
other
for
day
it.
and they looked like
Yeah, they right.
birds coming
Like fig, I
toward
went
me.
by a fig tree the other day, and you couldn't even see the figs from the bug. June beetles.
What about black rot? How do you fare with black rot?
We have a problem with it early in this year, but this year, all disease pressure
year,
has been down just because of this dry weather. It's actually good, really.
Because you can irrigate.
Right. It's not really good for young vines, but as far as disease pressure and fruit quality, I think dry is good. That's why California is able to produce all those table grapes by the millions of tons. And you know, it's like I've grown Blanc de Bois here, which is a really good wine grape. I've grown Jupiter, Faith, John Clark's releases out of Arkansas. They're all Pierce disease resistant, but you think you could grow them, and you can, but I don't think it's economically viable. You're going to spend so much spraying just to keep the diseases off of them and under control, then in the end, you're not going to make any money. You're better off to go buy it from somebody if you're going, you know. I mean, there's a lot of North Carolina wineries shipping fresh fruit in here by the truckload, by the ton from California, and juices by the tanker loads, and finished wine by the tanker loads. You know, if you're going to do a Chardonnay, a Merlot, something like that, that's the way to do it.
Can you talk a little bit about irrigation? So did you use irrigation this year already?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's running somewhere out here now. Where it is, I don't know. We rotate it every 12 hours. Like we'll do that field 12 hours, cut it off. Do this field for 12 hours, and do that one, and we just keep rotating.
Roughly how many acres per field?
About 8. And we hadn't turned it off in 2 months. Even though we got rain last night, we're not cutting it off.
Okay. And you're dropping what are your emitters dropping out?
Those are built in. I think they're 2 gallons an hour each.
Yeah.
If you look around, you'll see some that are not like this, where we added them. I think there's some over there. They're anywhere from a gallon. You know, on a young plant. Torres, he's been here 35 years. He oversees all the fresh fruit. And if anybody knew, see, a lot of these people, they come every year, so they know. And what we found is women are a lot better at it than men. Men are only thinking about dollars. So they're out there, and they're damaging the fruit. Fruit split, damage. Women are better at hand picking.
You got that nursery spirit.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. They are.
They're trying to do a good
As a
job.
matter of fact, when I see a bunch of young
Thank God for women. Oh,
Hispanic men come out here looking where I'm like, I mean, I want to keep them on a tractor or with me doing that instead of hand picking. And it works out better for women because most of them don't show up till 9 o'clock. They get the kids off to school, they come in here, they'll work straight through lunch, they'll quit at 3, meet their kids at the school bus. And we've got lots of them that do that. And they're able to go to work late, work for 7, 8 hours, then be home for the kids.
So you're probably saying you got 10 full-time when they're not?
8, yeah, 8 to
10
10.
full-time. Do you pack them in for harvest then? Do you have to get more temporary in?
Yeah, they'll be up to 30 or more.
And you've got how many acres in 100?
Well, 98,
But only half of that's going in.
only half of it's fresh fruit. You know, if labor keeps becoming a problem, somebody needs to develop a really gentle harvester that will harvest fruit without damage.
What
If
about
you could do that, you save yourself some money.
And grapes.
Labor's everything.
Yeah, grapes are better than, say strawberries or blackberries or raspberries, that harvester's a long ways away. The grapes are at least round and reasonably hard.
Well, and they, you know.
But you've got to tease the ripe ones out.
That's right. That's the hard part. And then you've got like if you look on these harvesters, when those grapes fall from the cordon to the bottom, it's a long drop. You're going to have to make something where they don't fall very far. And whatever they hit is going to be really soft. You know, but I believe it's doable. You know, they're great breeding all the time. The biggest problem with muscadines is they're uneven ripening. So when you're machine picking them, you wait and wait and wait and wait, and still when you harvest them, you've got underripe fruit, perfectly ripe fruit, and overripe, and it tends to blend in and balance out very well.
Not a problem for wine.
Right.
How many picks do you do?
With the harvester?
Yeah, well, hand or
Hand picking, they might do the same row 5 times. With a machine, it's one time.
And then sometimes you also pick a little more next to me. You can have a big dog.
Oh, yeah. I'm going to take you over here to this newest Springfield I got. You're going to see grapes from buckshot size to, you know, $50. And the $50 one will be ready in 2 or 3 weeks. The tiny one will be 10th of October. So we'll pick those. These are lane.
Taste one. Oh, that's good. They never, the grapes never get fully ripe on the vine. They're picking them before they get ripe because even before they're good enough.
I say rack and pull the clean stuff off, and then I'll add my sugar, my yeast, let it warm up, and ferment it that way. Some people don't do that. They just add the sugar and the yeast right when the stuff's pressed. I mean, there's a lot of different ways to do it. This is how I come on these things. That's climate control, glycol. You notice the hoses. You can feel this tank. It's cool. It's glycol and water. And I can control the fermentation temperature, say at 55 to 60 degrees. And then when I want to cold stabilize it, which cold stabilization is the tartrates, which are salts. They're harmless, but if I didn't do it, and you took a bottle of my wine home and put it in your refrigerator for a week, and pull it out and say, oh, what's that mess at the bottom? It's just the tartrates. So we get this below freezing and hold it there for 3 weeks to 4 weeks, and then we precipitate cream of tartar to help all those salts drop out. Once that's done, we filter it, blend it, and bottle.
So those definitely refrigerated in there.
Yep. There's a hollow gap band from here to there, and you circulate chilled glycol around it, and it pulls the heat up. And you know, people that make wine in their garage or homemade wine, you ever notice it doesn't really have the flavor or aroma? It's because it got hot. If you ever heard of old timers burying barrels in the ground, ferment it that way? That's doing it cool is how you preserve the aroma and flavor of the grape. Whether it's strawberries, blueberries, blackberries, anything you're fermenting, doing it cool. Any questions? Bet y'all tired of me now. All right. I ain't got much left.
We're impressed. We're not tired. Thank you.
Yeah. I mean, I used to buy Chamberson and I grew Norton. We used to barrel age and stuff. That stuff's just too hard.
You stick with the mustard.
I am. At this point in my life, if they told me I couldn't do it, I would do it anyway. But I'm at the point in my life where I believe what they tell me now. I lost a lot of money and time. Stick with muscadines in this part of the state.
And you see it's growing
or east or
market.
south.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. I mean, if you guys are doing U-pick, I mean, I would definitely cater toward the Asian market. Not solely toward them, but over the last 15 years, every year, it's just more and more and more coming here. And it's probably because I'm so close to RTP, Raleigh, Apex, and anybody near there, like Andy Zimmerman, I told y'all, those same people are just clean him out every year. And but he's in Chapel Hill, right? He's in Chapel Hill. Yeah. So he was starting a winery, and they were picking all his grapes, and then he'd come to me and buy grapes. After he had sold all his for more money than, you know what I mean?
That's funny money.
Yeah, yeah. And I mean, it looked like 1 million ants that hit the place. There wasn't a grape left, not even on the ground. But they really like them, and of course everybody does. And anywhere you're near some people that you can pull into your place. I mean, I'll put it to you this way: selling to Walmart or Food Line, or net money per pound of fruit after you paid your labor to pick it, paid for the clamshells or the packing materials, paid for the transportation to get it there, maybe 90 cents a pound. If you're doing U-Pick and they're paying you $1.75 a pound and you got no labor in it, that's a no-brainer.
What's
But
the capacity of those the biggest tanks?
they're 12,000. Yeah.
Well, how many acres of you pick do you have? Officially?
9.
Nine.
Yeah.
But then they wander around like in other areas.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of times they don't do as good a job as my people. So I have to send my people in behind them like during the week to make sure, clean the place up. But the bulk of the U-Pick courses Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and then Labor Day weekend is the biggest of the weekend of the whole year. And I mean, we do have people during the week, but you won't see more than 20, 30 people on a weekday. But on a weekend, it might be hundreds.
Bob, what do you guys use to sanitize your tanks?
Steam and Sanity. I got a steam generator. It's kind of a pain. It takes a while once you crank it up to build, but I like it best. But we've got, I tell you, I got a really nice power washer that's diesel powered outside, and my guys like to run that hose in. I mean, you turn the temp to 180, they get in the tanks and just clean the heck out of it. Never had a problem. Some people use really caustic soda and different stuff like that. I've never done that. I just felt like I didn't want to be breathing that stuff, and I didn't want any of my people to have to do it. But we've never had a problem. Have you?
Yeah, we had an issue last year with Zygo, and we got rid of it with paracetic acid. So now we sanitize everything with a chemical from Z's called Maxisan.
I've got some of that. I haven't used it.
Oh, it's got a 99.9% efficacy rate against Zygo. Because nothing will get rid of Zygo other than that.
So, what happens to your wine if it has that problem?
Well, I mean, because Zygo is basically a wild yeast, but it's a spoilage yeast. And if you catch it early enough, it's just like champagne. But if you don't, it will basically blow the top of your bottle off. And I'm not talking about pushing your cork out. I'm talking about the bottle will explode.
So,
and
sterile filtration won't work?
No. Well, sterile filtration will work, but Zygo's perfect. So if you had it over here and you touched it, you go over here downstream from the absolute filter. Now it's everywhere.
What about heat? Heat won't kill it. That's where steam would help.
The issue with heat is you'd have to be at 150 degrees for 30 minutes. And even with steam, if you don't have the right equipment, maybe you're bottling equipment and the steam can't pass through it, then the steam doesn't work.
Well, since I put that pasteurizer in, when we get ready to bottle, I just fill that thing halfway full of water. I'll get that water 180 degrees, and I'll just circulate through my bottling line. And I mean, it doesn't take me half the time as what it used to take me with that steam. But I had somebody from NC State. When I built that, I built it to keep up with my bottling line. And I've been wanting to do this since we started, but Ron Taylor was doing it, and he was making my juice, and his business was growing. And I called him up in September and say, hey, when can I bring this juice to you? He said, we're busy, don't bring it to me till Thanksgiving. I said, this stuff ain't gonna last till Thanksgiving. Right? So that's why I did this. And the guy from NC State came and looked at it. He said, man, you built a Ferrari. I'm like, what are you talking about? He said, I ain't never seen nothing like that. He said, nobody's got anything like that. But I didn't plan it that way. It'll do 2,000 bottles an hour.
Juice, yes. Please, if you guys would like to just look through, would y'all like to? Here, let's start over here, okay? And we'll just pass it through. Everybody gets a chance. And again, if you signed up for it on the sheet, you'll be able to get one of these.
Yeah. If you are truly in the wine and grape business, we've got these. Everybody here is from North Carolina. It's just for North Carolina. The other part of this that I want to mention is that we last year were able to provide free testing of your juice for a lot of characteristics. You have to ship the juice to one of our wineries in the central part of the state, and they would do this for free. They would normally charge you $35–50 for that, and we're covering the cost. We had enough that we would continue to do that this year. So if you're wanting to have your juice tested, say pre-harvest, or even your wine, if you're making wine in the course of it, this is something you can participate in. Can you talk a little bit about what these tests show?
Sure, absolutely. So this is definitely like if you're going to be making wine later on, you're going to get your sugar levels, you'll also get your total acidity, and you'll also get your pH out of that. And I believe you may be checking for a few other parameters.
And if you're just selling the grapes, it tells you a little bit about when to harvest, right?
Right, absolutely. So like if you were to go through your vineyard and take three different time periods near harvest samples, we do 100 berry samples, and then we just basically bring them into the lab, squeeze them up, and for instance, that's where you would put your juice in here. So let me back that up a little bit. You would actually like walk through the canopy and grab some berries here, grab some there, grab some there. And you want to do it blindly. Like sure, there's no wasps up there or anything, you're not going to get bit. So you just walk through, you grab your 100 berries. Don't look, because what happens is you're going to go, oh, that's a beautiful berry. You're just going to pick those, so you won't get a very representative sample. So when you grab those 100 berries, when you're going through there, it's okay to pull some of those hard berries too, because that's going to give you, again, another representative sample of what you actually have out in the vines. And if you do that 3 times, like within maybe a 3-week period, you're going to see your, so again, we're looking for sugar, we're looking for total acidity, and we're looking for our pH. What you're going to see is the total acidity is going to drop, the titratable acidity, because that tartaric acid is going to start to respirate on the vines as it gets warmer. And you're going to see your sugar rise because, of course, the vines are doing what they're supposed to do, and they're making the sugar increase, they're making the Brix increase. And that point where you have the acid kind of going down and you have the sugar going up, they're going to cross at some point. And that point where they cross, we call that the physical ripeness, or that's going to be indicated with the chemical ripeness parameters. So once you have that number and you have it like 3 times, you have at least some numbers to plot on a graph that you're going to get that information out. So that's what we're sending off, is we're taking 100 berry samples, and just, you take your bag, you bring it in the lab, you squeeze it, and you just snip the end off there, fill your little sample container, and we also have, like online, we have like all the way to set your sample up so that you can send it successfully up to a winery that's doing those testing on it, and they've calibrated their equipment for Muscadine, so it is very, very accurate. And then you can get your results back from them. So that's if you guys have a winery or even for your grapes and just for your own interest, this is a great, inexpensive to free way to figure out what your wine chemistry is going to be.
It's a benefit to the industry because it kind of provides belts and baselines also for muscadines, because they're just not as much studied and as well known in sort of in the chemistry of muscadine.
That's absolutely right. There's still a lot of stuff we know about difficult. I'm assuming because there's colloids in the juice, that's where we see particles that we can't see with our eyeballs, but they're like in a certain suspension in the juice. And so you go to filter and you just keep filtering. We were just talking about that earlier, Daryl.
So you can tell God is the winemaker.
I'm sorry, I'm a total geek, and I can, just shut me up whenever you need to. How many of you are pick your own that we have here? Okay, great. Do we have winemakers here as well, like folks who make their own wine? All right, fantastic.
And I should introduce Arthur here, who is a wine and food blogger here. He's been an enthusiastic supporter of this association and of muscadines. Merlot to muscadine, he's...
I put it in the name, you got it.
Wonderful.
So, our next speaker will be Kathy Ma from NCBA, who's going to talk a little bit about international marketing and also touch on the Asian community that Bob has been telling us about.
Yeah, nice to meet everyone today. My name is Kathy Ma. I'm with NCAG International Marketing. I would like to talk about what we did last year and what we are going to do this year. So last year we had a funding from SUSTA, Southern United States Trade Association, which is part of USDA. We had probably $200,000 to use on promoting North Carolina muscadine grapes, fresh grapes. We worked with the importer in Canada, and the importer imported fresh muscadine grapes to Canada and did in-store promotion with 8 large grocery chain stores. And I think the sales went very well. The buyer would love to buy more, but the sellers here didn't have enough to sell. I hope this year there will be more we can sell. Why Canada? Because Canada is so close to the border, it's next to us, and we have the same similar culture, and people there like to have healthy living, and they are aware of the health benefit of muscadine grapes. And Canada has diverse population, like ethnic population in there. The promotion we did in Canada was in Toronto area. There are lots of Asian population in there. So being an Asian myself, I know a lot of Asian Americans like muscadine grapes, fresh muscadine grapes, muscadine wine, and also muscadine juice. Why? Because the taste is musky flavor taste, and the nutrition part, people are aware of the nutrition part of that. And so my friends, I know a lot of my friends come to this place to buy fresh grapes, and people eat them all, eat the skin, eat the seeds, eat them all at once. So according to a Google search, there are about 300,000 Asian American in North Carolina. I was surprised to see that number. And the largest Asian American population in North Carolina is in the Triangle area in Wake County with 72,000 residents. So you can imagine for that many people who love muscadine grapes, if they come for pick your own or to come for like a wine, they will buy. And this is a good opportunity to sell your fresh grapes to that kind of community. So I would think you may want to focus a little bit on those population. If you need help for translation or anything like to target Asian or Chinese population, let me know. I would love to help out. Our office has developed a trilingual brochure on fresh Muscadine grapes. It's in English, Spanish, and Mandarin. If you need the copies of those, let me know. I will distribute to you guys and mail them to you. Any questions?
Yeah, how's the export market?
Export market to Canada?
To actually Asia.
Yeah.
And the reason why I asked that is because I saw, I think it was about maybe 5 or 6 years ago, I think they had a PBS, I think it was PBS special, where they had a Muscadine grower that was exporting his grapes to Asia. And also I think up in the western part of North Carolina, I think an Asian grower bought a Muscadine farm and they're using that to export to Asia. Would you happen to know anything about that?
Oh, I didn't hear that part, but my understanding is that the shipping is gonna be challenging. You have to fly the fresh grapes to Asia.
Perishable.
It's perishable, right. I know NC State Professor Penny is working on a controlled atmosphere experiment on extending Muscadine grape shelf life. If we can extend 2 more weeks, we will probably be able to ship fresh, it's on the age, fresh Muscadine grapes. But I'm working with some buyers in Hong Kong, and hopefully the buyer can come, one of the buyers can come to visit the farm and place orders right away and then fly. It has to fly the fresh grapes to Hong Kong. We don't have market access to China yet. China is a large consumer market. We're working on that to get the government approval to allow our fresh grapes enter China. But there's a good opportunity. Thanks for your reminder. There's Asia Fruit Logistica Show, which will take place in Bangkok, Thailand, in November, early November, November 3rd to 5th. If North Carolina Department of Ag has 1 booth, we can take 2 to 3 co-exhibitors. I know Martin has expressed interest in going there. If any of you, Bob, any of you would like to travel to Bangkok, Thailand, let me know. They are great opportunities. So basically you can apply for one of 2 grants, and it will give you reimbursement up to $3,000 for your travel expenses. You have the most product to sell.
No, I went once.
Yeah, Bob has been to Hong Kong. And can you explain a little bit how the show worked for you?
Yeah.
That's Asia for Logistica show in Hong Kong.
First off, it's like bigger, I don't know, 3 times bigger than Dorton Arena.
Yes, it's huge.
If you sell produce in China or Hong Kong, you're at that show. And I mean, it was California Table Grape Association, people from Australia, everywhere, the whole world. And but I'll tell you, there must have been 200 exhibitors or more. The Muscadine Grape stole that whole show. They were lined up in front of our booth, I mean, 6 wide from here to the air conditioner, just coming to try them. I mean, the problem we had is when I got back, I had hundreds of emails, but nobody knew how to get them there. You know, air freight's too expensive.
Yeah.
You're never going to be able to do it that way. So you got to figure out how to put these things to sleep, put them in some type of modified atmospheric storage or a container and gas them and keep them refrigerated for 30 days it's going to take to get there. And I think they're getting ready to do the research for that this coming.
This crop year, yeah, Dr. Penny is going to work on that.
So
Right.
that's been the problem. There's no doubt that if you can figure out the logistics, you can sell hundreds and hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of acres of these things.
Yeah.
Somebody told me once that if every person in China ate 1 more pound of strawberries, it would double the market for strawberries.
I'm sure.
Yeah, the population
And I
size,
think that-
yes, huge.
Correct me if I'm wrong, this may be Hong Kong, not China, but way over 50% of what they eat is imported. I mean,
Yeah,
they can't grow enough.
they don't have land to grow
They don't have-
anything.
Yeah.
Right.
So imports are huge.
Right, right.
Because lanternfly is here.
Unfortunately, that is the truth. So, again, my name is Paul Adams. I'm with the North Carolina Department of Ag with Plant Industry Division, and specifically, I'm the regulatory entomologist. So, what that means from a basic practical standpoint is that if there is a major insect pest, whether native or invasive, that impacts our ag industry, so including muscadines and our grape production and really anything else from, again, from sweet potatoes to muscadines, then it's generally my problem. And so today we're here to talk about spotted lanternfly. Hopefully if you produce muscadines, you produce any kind of grape, or you produce wine, then you pick one of these up. This is our Vineyard Preparedness Kit. It has basically all of the general information that you as a producer of grapes or wine need to know about spotted lanternfly and how it can potentially impact your business. I'm going to go through some of this information, but if you don't have one of these, this is the last one that I have with me today. You can always contact my office. We can get you one or several, and someone can have this one.
Yeah.
I'd also like to take the time to just point out, if you picked up one of my pens, it has this sort of pull out.
So cool.
It's all of the life stages for spotted lanternfly and what they look like, and approximately when you would see them. And then on the back, it has our contact information and how you can get a hold of us and let us know that you have it, so that hopefully we can do something about it. So I'll try not to take up a ton of your time, but I will give you just a little bit of background information about spotted lanternfly. It's originally from China. It arrived in the United States in 2014, or at least was discovered at that time in Pennsylvania. In just 8 short years, it has made its way all the way down here to North Carolina. Our first confirmed find of spotted lanternfly of a population was on June 23rd of this year. That will be 5 weeks tomorrow. And we have been actively working in that site since that time to hopefully eradicate that population and prevent it from being a problem. It remains to be seen whether we'll get that done, but that's certainly, we have a lot of fine folks who are putting in a lot of long hours to try to accomplish that goal. So why, as grape and wine producers, should you care? Well, based on the information that we have and the data we have from northern states, the industry that seems to be most impacted by spotted lanternfly is the wine and grape community. And they do not care whether you have muscadines or vinifera. It is something that they can use as a host. In terms of what it can do to a vineyard or a grape producer, one thing that they can impact is sugar set. So their feeding can directly impact the quality of the fruit that you produce. And secondarily, there's some data to suggest that their feeding activity can also reduce cold hardiness in your vines. So effectively making your vines more susceptible to freezing temperatures. And so both of those things, which directly impact your bottom line and everything that you're trying to do, are things that we know to be true, at least have seen it here in the United States. And so it is definitely something that we are very concerned about for this particular segment of our ag community. It's also a nuisance pest of sort of the highest order. When they get together for mating purposes, they swarm. That's not a behavior that they have in their native range, but they do here. And they get on trees, and they feed nonstop, and they excrete a sugary waste substance that we call honeydew. It's a lot more glamorous name than what's actually happening. But it gets all over everything. That includes your plants, your car, your outdoor furniture, your home, really anything that's outside and underneath the tree that they're feeding on can get covered in it. It encourages the growth of sooty mold and fungi and bacteria, which eventually, if left unchecked, can actually kill plants. Like they'll be covered in sooty mold to such a degree that it actually prevents them from photosynthesizing and they die. So it's very unsightly. It smells as well. If you've spent any time in Pennsylvania or anywhere with a severe infestation, there is a smell, and then all of that sugary substance attracts stinging insects. So
is it white?
No, ma'am, it isn't.
Okay, good. I don't have it.
Well, and let's hope it stays that way. I hope none of you get it, and I hope that we're successful in eradicating it. But it is not just a problem for our ag markets. It is a problem for everyone. And again, unfortunately, we do have it, and we're doing our best to remedy that situation. So I could go on and on and on about spotted lanternfly. It's pretty much all I've lived and breathed in the last 5 weeks, and certainly we've been preparing and putting out outreach materials to everyone, and thankfully it was through that outreach that a citizen actually reached out to us and said, hey, I think we have this here. And so it's through the eyes of farmers and master gardeners and citizens that, you know, we find these things, and we find them earlier than perhaps we would otherwise, because there's about 23 of us in the staff that we work with, between our field staff and our office staff. There are hundreds of thousands, millions of citizens and farmers who are out there who can keep an eye on this thing. So that's been really important. Outreach has been really important, and it certainly remains important for us now. But I guess if there were one other thing that I could really sort of impart to you, it's that there are a lot of hosts for this species other than grapes. Its primary host, its thing that it prefers the most, is tree of heaven. If you're not familiar with that, I certainly can talk to you more about it in your Vineyard Preparedness Kit that you picked up from me. There's information about tree of heaven. Some of the older generation call it copal in some places. It's also invasive, originally from Asia. It was introduced over 200 years ago because someone thought it looked good and it'd be a great nursery plant. Unfortunately, it's allelopathic. What that means is it secretes compounds into the environment that help it control and regulate the growth of other plants. So it's very good at outcompeting other plants. And when you see it, it's a lot of times in a very large grove, and it produces suckers from main roots of larger trees. It's really prolific reproducer. Their seeds are good in the seed bank for like 10 years, and one female tree over its lifetime will produce tens of thousands, maybe even hundreds of thousands of seeds. So it in and of itself is a problem, and if you have it in and around your property, there's some debate as to whether you should remove it entirely or whether you should leave some of those trees in order to try to keep those insects actually off of what you value. So
it's a trap crop.
Right. So as a trap tree, it's actually a technique that we employ in that infestation site now. We use a systemic insecticide. We treat those larger trees, and then the insect comes to that tree, feeds on it, and expires. So it is certainly a viable strategy to keep some, but I don't know that there's any scientific consensus yet that definitively says, yes, get rid of all of them, or keep some, but you know, that information will grow with time. It's all still very new, especially for us. So China berry, some people call it a Cheney ball tree. That is another host for this species. So we thought maybe Piedmont to west, where tree of heaven is more common in our state, would be maybe worst hit, but unfortunately it seems that they can use it as a host well, and it's significantly more common from here to the coast. So it also feeds on maples and a slew of other plants. We've seen it on roses. So it's going to be tough, but you know, we're giving it everything that we can, and management of some of those things may be beneficial to your production and to your farms. So anyway.
The main thing that vineyards should be doing now is watching for it and reporting it. Is there other
Yes.
activities or are
Absolutely, mostly reporting. If we find it elsewhere, we will deploy another group of individuals to try to treat and eliminate it from the area, if at all possible. But definitely seeing, monitoring, considering what you might do in the event of getting it. It can be managed with pesticides, but at pretty significant cost. Obviously, the cost of pesticides in general has gone up in the current market, but in places where they have vineyards and they're treating for spotted lanternfly, we're talking about a threefold increase in the number of treatments that they're having to do, which is tripling the amount of product that they need. So it is very, very costly to manage. So trying to be as proactive as you can is definitely what we suggest. Unfortunately, there's a limited number of things that you can do to be proactive.
So the hope is that if you catch early infestations, you will eradicate those pockets and it won't spread. Is that the
Generally
plan?
speaking, yes. I mean, the sooner that you can, and this goes for any invasive species, but the sooner that you can catch it and get on it, the more likely that you're going to be successful in either getting rid of it or managing it. And you know, as we get further down the road from some of these, you know, these states that have now had it for going on 8 years, you know, it's possible, and don't take this with a grain of salt, but much like kudzu bug was going to be the new scourge for you know, soybeans and other legumes, like a fungi that we have here natively that is everywhere, an intimate pathogen sort of kept that under wraps. Like it is possible that something like that could happen. I don't know how likely, but people are investigating all of that now. We're looking at intimate pathogens. We're looking at, you know, the community is looking at, you know, how do we manage? How do we get rid of it? What are the appropriate things to do? So again, there's a limited pool of knowledge now, and certainly here to share everything that I know about that pool of knowledge with you, so that you can be